This is a message for anyone who's ever felt like their bra was just fine. Third Love is here so you don't have to settle for good enough. A company founded by women just like you who know what struggling to find a bra feels like. For over 10 years, they've been redefining what a comfortable bra looks and feels like, focusing on innovative design and high-quality materials. We're talking about bras, yes, bras, made with thoughtful details to solve common problems. Want to stay cool and comfortable all day? Third Love offers innovative thermoregulating fabric that has you covered. Looking for a little extra lift? Need smoothing? Even need to add a cup size? They've got it. And the fit? It's unmatched. Third Love believes everyone deserves a bra that fits perfectly, which is why they offer over 60 sizes from AA through H. They even have exclusive half cup sizes, which means if you're in between sizes, you can get a perfect fit every time. Stop settling for average bras. Get solutions made for your body. Get $15 off your perfect fit bra at thirdlove.com with code podcast15.
From Estero, Florida, this is the One Extraordinary Marriage Show, where being busy is overdone, romancing is fun, and scheduling sex is taking the guesswork out of wondering when you're going to get some. I'm Tony DiLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. From coast to coast and around the world, thank you for joining us. It's time to talk sex, love, and commitment. Give us a call or text us on the Hug Hotline at 858-876-5663. Or send us an email to hugs@oneextraordinarymarriage.com. In today's episode, we're addressing something that 94% of you said is causing problems in your marriage. Phones getting in the way of your conversations and connection with your spouse.
And there's a quote from Simone Weil that says, "Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity." And as we talk about today's episode about phones, I just want you to keep that in mind, that your attention is one of the greatest gifts that you can give to your spouse. But first, we start every episode with what we like to call a hug. And if you're brand new here, first, I just want to say thank you for tuning in and being part of the One family. You know, a hug is really an opportunity for us to celebrate what you're doing in your marriage, maybe how you're tackling one of the 6 pillars of intimacy, or just, some area where you're being intentional. And this hug comes from a post that was in the One Family private Facebook group that says, "There's a company that offers mystery picnics, and we did ours in historic downtown Grapevine, Texas. As part of the date, you solve some puzzles that direct you to a local eatery where you pick up part of your meal and then to a park for a picnic."
Aw.
It was a really fun experience.
That's awesome. What a way to strengthen your recreational intimacy. And we've been to Grapevine, Texas, to downtown Grapevine, Texas.
We have it, and it's like the ultimate of like scavenger hunt, progressive date, like all kind of getting smushed together. Progressive date dinner. Yes. And so I absolutely love that. And I love when all of you are just investing that time and doing fun things with your spouse. Now, as Tony said, today's episode is addressing something that 94% of you is causing problems in your marriage. And this topic came up in a coaching session this past week. And I'm on Zoom with husband and wife. And the husband just looks at me and he says, I just wish we could visit without our phones getting in the way. And, there was a pause and they're kind of looking awkward at each other. And I'm like, hey, guys, no judgment here. Like, this is something that Tony and I have struggled with ourselves. And I actually believe the phones are an epidemic in our marriage, that what is happening with attention being diverted from spouses, guilty as charged, is creating an epidemic of disconnect in relationships.
Yeah, and those of us who've been married long enough and old enough to remember a time when we didn't have them to when we were first beginning to have them to where we are now, I think see it more. I think those of you who are younger can also feel the change and the difference. When it's just you, it's cool. Like, you're like, oh, I'm just talking to my friends, this, that, and the other. And yet now that you're in this marital relationship, you tend to see how much your spouse is on it and how their attention is diverted from you to that. And that's causing tension for you. So you may have grown up with it more. Like, our children have grown up with technology and phones or devices way more than we did. And so either wherever you are, you've probably experienced how these phones are getting in the way of you and your spouse getting close and connected.
And let me tell you how widespread this is. This last week, took to Instagram, asked a question on Instagram stories. And first question I asked was, do phones cause distractions in conversations with your spouse? Now, I watched the cycle, Instagram stories are up for 24 hours, and I watched the numbers. It never went below 91% saying yes. As high as like 94, 95% said yes. So pretty much, I feel very confident saying this, pretty much all of you have experienced that phenomena happening in your marriage. And then it was interesting because I was doing some research and came across the fact that there is actually, you guys, there's a term for this type of engagement, or I guess I should say lack of engagement. It's called phubbing. So PHUBBING. So it's like phone, and it actually stands for phone and snubbing, and they smush that together to be a word, phubbing. And it's when someone uses their phone instead of engaging with the person in front of them. And Baylor University did some studies on this and showed that where phubbing happens regularly, couples report lower relationship satisfaction, increased conflict, and higher levels of depression, which straight up, I'm going to tell you, it's going to impact all 6 pillars of intimacy when you've got that going on. And let's be truthful, right? Like, I know that there are so many times when I don't even realize I'm doing it. Like, I might be in the car, I might be walking through the kitchen or whatever, and you just pull out your phone, you're like, oh, I'm just going to check one thing, or somebody asks a question. This is, notorious, like, hey, what about, and instead of just having a dialogue about it, what do? Oh, let me just check my phone. And then before you know it, it's been like 5 minutes or 10 or 30, and you've completely stopped engaging with your spouse, which leads to a lot of different feelings, right? And we asked you, when my spouse is looking at their phone during our conversations, I feel, and it was like, hey, fill in the blank. Some of the things that we heard.
Ignored, unimportant, unheard, less worthy of attention.
Like an afterthought, dismissed, undervalued, like the phone is more important, invisible, rejected, and annoyed.
And I read over all this, and I'm like, yep. I'm like, been there. I totally agree with you guys, is what I'm going to say.
Well, and we gave you guys that list, but I will tell you the 3 words that came up time and time again were ignored, unheard, and unimportant. And, again, like, we are not coming as a perfect couple that like immediately walks into our house and locks up our phones and has all of these wonderful conversations. Like, we struggle with this ourselves. It's part of the reason why we're doing this episode, because it's this reminder that your spouse wants to connect with you.
I want to say something just real quick.
Yeah.
The word unimportant just sort of hit me there.
Okay.
Because the other 2, got it, ignored, unheard, got it. Like, I'm having a conversation with you, and this has happened in our own home, where Elisa says something to me, or even one of the children say something to me, and yet I'm looking at my phone, and I look up and I would go, huh? And they're like, Dad, we just, like, we're right here, like, pay attention to us. So, but unimportant, it's one of those words where it's like, okay, well, important, we know what's important. Like, you are important to me as my wife, but what's unimportant? Like, a lack of importance? I guess that's what it, but I looked up the definition. I'm pulling an Elisa.
You are so well trained when it comes to words.
I'm pulling an Elisa. And what really hit me, the first one is lacking in importance. Okay, yeah. But the next one was lacking in significance.
Ooh.
And I think the significance, when we look at unimportant and we go significance, that's where it really goes, oof, like, you're significant to me. And because of that unimportant, you feel unimportant, it means like you've lost the significance, the priority in my life, in our marriage, God, wife, husband, kids, family, work, like that's the order we're looking for. But when we say you're unimportant or you have no significance, that knocks you down and makes you feel that. And so I just wanted to bring that up because it was just a word for me. I'm like, well, what does unimportant mean?
Wow. Because, the other half of that equation, if you do not have significance, then what does have the significance?
Which is the device. Yep.
Right. And I know on the day that Tony and I got married, and it's a little fresh because we just celebrated our 29th wedding anniversary. So we've been having lots of reflection on this. Like, I always wanted to be the number one, the most important person. And so when I think about sending that message to Tony that says, you're not significant to me, or maybe I don't feel significant to you, that starts to, that gets under your skin. Mm-hmm. Right? Because when one of you or both, because again, this happens on both sides of the marriage bed, is choosing phone over conversation and connection, AKA emotional intimacy, you start to get those cracks in that pillar. It's nonverbal communication, right? If I pick up my phone and Tony's trying to talk to me and I don't have to say anything, I can just pick up my phone and it's like, yeah, I'm not paying attention to you. Mm-hmm. Right? And you can get into a place where the one who's ignored stops trying to share. They stop bringing up things that happened during the day. They stop asking questions. They feel like they don't matter or what they have to say doesn't matter. And very likely you're going to drift into being roommates instead of lovers. And it's not just the emotional intimacy, right? It's also your physical intimacy. Like it's if somebody's got a phone in their hand all the time and they're constantly looking at it, you're probably not going to touch them. You can't hold hands with them. They're holding hands with their phone, right? Mm-hmm. And over time, what does that do to your sexual intimacy, right? When you don't feel that connection, why would you choose to be vulnerable in the bedroom? I mean, I remember years ago, this came up in an interview that Tony and I just did, but years ago, there was a study that talked, and I think the number was around 35% of folks were picking up their phones before they touched their spouse. Right? And so like when you think about sexual intimacy, if you're holding your phone in your bed, if it's the last thing you hold or the first thing you pick up, how is that going to impact your sexual intimacy? Right? Like that is something to think about when it comes to your marriage. And getting into this place where, there are studies out there that show that the more time on your phone leads to less time being sexually intimate. You only have so much bandwidth and attention. Where's it going? Right? And what does that look like? What could you do instead? I mean, some of you have, like we asked you, like, what have you tried? And you said, put it down, call it out. One of my personal favorites, stop talking and wait for eye contact. Have phone-free hours. Put on do not disturb. And then some of you actually said, nothing has worked. And we can't stay, like extraordinary couples can't stay in this place of, basically throwing up our hands and saying, well, nothing works, right? We've got to step into this place of, okay, what skills do I need? What strategies do I need to be fully present with my spouse? What do I need to work on? And again, I'm telling you guys, we are not doing this show to preach from the mountaintop. We are talking about this topic because it's been something that Tony and I are both aware of in our own marriage.
Yeah, and I even think about it for us. I think the biggest place is that it really impacts Elisa and I, and just sharing with you guys. For myself, I think it's a lot of when we're driving. Mm-hmm. It's easy for us just to go on our merry way, and the phone gets picked up by Elisa. I'm driving and checking out, and I could be trying to talk to her or something, and the conversation begins to stop. I find for myself, after a long day, sometimes I'll just sit on the couch and just sort of go, okay. And maybe even during the day, like I'm looking at something or somebody pings like from the team and all of a sudden it's a spiral and, oh, I need to do this. I need to leave that. And so just like you guys, we face these issues. Mm-hmm. We don't come here saying we're perfect. We're also learning and growing and trying to figure this thing out as well in our own marriage, because there are cracks in our own pillars that we need to strengthen. And the phone is getting in between us to get to that spot where we feel like in our own marriage that our pillars are strong and we have that closeness and connection we desire.
So I just wanted to think like what would shift in your marriage if you could give your spouse undivided attention, right? Think about how you would engage with them, what that looks like, how they would respond to you. And after this break, we're going to talk about how you can reclaim your focused connection.
DSW, Designer Shoe Warehouse, is the one-stop shop for all your footwear needs. With sneakers, boots, and everything in between for every style, mood, and occasion, you'll definitely find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. DSW has what you need, but more importantly, they have what you didn't even know you wanted. You never know what you'll find at DSW. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or DSW.com.
I love GoPure, and I'm excited to share this with you. Living here in Southwest Florida, I definitely think about sun exposure, especially on my neck. I've seen what happens when we don't take care of it. We spend so much time caring for our face, but what about our neck? Even heading into fall, this area is still exposed with open collars and V-necks. Neck skin is thinner and more delicate than facial skin, making it especially vulnerable. That's where GoPure's Tighten and Lift Neck Cream comes in. I've been using it, and honestly, I love how my neck looks and feels. This powerful formula is packed with clinically proven ingredients that visibly firm and smooth in as little as 4 to 8 weeks. All GoPure products are cruelty-free, paraben-free, and sulfate-free. With over 1 million jars sold, this beauty secret is no longer a secret. For a limited time, our listeners get 25% off GoPure with code MARRIAGE at checkout. Just head to gopure.com, use code MARRIAGE, and you're all set. And after you buy, do us a favor. When they ask where you heard about GoPure, tell them it was from our show. We're back, and we're discussing how to stop letting phones get in the way of connection with your spouse. And, first and foremost, the time to bring this up is not when everybody's heated and you've just had a, I can't believe you're on your phone again conversation, or you never look like, don't have the conversation when you're heated. Have the conversation when you're calm. Start with, I've been thinking about how we can connect and put our phones aside while we're talking. Like, here's the problem. Here's a possible solution. Like, you're already coming, but you're doing it in a place of calm, and it's a we statement. It's not a you statement. Because as a marriage coach and as a spouse, I will tell you that when Tony starts a conversation with a you, my defenses go up pretty quickly. When he starts a conversation with, hey, I've been thinking about us and we, well, I'm reminded that we're on the same team, right? And that makes a really big difference.
Now, you may mess up and you may say you. I have. And it's okay. Because part of the journey is going like, wait a minute, I also have an issue here as well. Mm-hmm. Now, you may go, well, I don't have it as bad as my spouse does.
Okay, this is not like...
And yet, I would say, looking at the percentage, 94%, it's creating a disconnect. Mm-hmm. And so at that percentage point, I would assume, and this is just a big assumption of mine, is that both husband and wife are looking too much on the phone. So to say you're just sort of you're trying to pick on your spouse at that point in time, which they're just going to say you were doing it just as much.
Mm-hmm.
Because
that's exactly what's going to happen.
And it's just going to go, well, I don't do it as much as you do it. Okay, so you have it in your hand 5 minutes less than I do. Like, are we trying to work together and come up with a solution together, or are we trying to pick each other apart? I think that's the part we got to look at here.
And let me just say one thing. Obviously, this whole episode we've been talking about phones. It could be your laptop. It could be your iPad. Like, we have so many electronics at our disposal right now. It could just be staring at the TV, right?
But I will say this. I hear you on that. But there is a distinction between like a phone and an iPad or something. It's a mobile device that we take with us, because a TV, we're not, I get it, we're watching TV, but I do feel like there is a distinction between a device where this is what I would say. We can get on a social media platform and comment and respond to somebody or see their pictures or whatever that may be, mm-hmm. and respond to them, and yet our spouse is right next to us and we don't respond to them.
Fair.
And so I do want to make sure that we hone in more on the phone side, the iPad side, because there is this interaction that is happening there that is taking away our attention.
Yeah, good point.
Case in point, you like to play some game stuff.
Yeah.
Like you totally do, and it drives me nuts because I don't play games on phones or anything. I I don't. So that you're not doing on a TV.
True.
Unless you're picking up like a PlayStation or a Nintendo, whatever they got now with the Nintendo. But that's not our world, right?
Right.
And even then I can see what's going on because it's a TV. Where it's a phone, it's a little different.
Yeah.
And we even have the safety screen.
Privacy glass.
So I'm beside you. I can't even see your phone.
So have the conversation. Think about creating specific phone-free zones.
Walk and talk, perfect. Like get out, get moving, get shoulder to shoulder, go for a drive, discuss it. Don't need to be sitting across from one another. You know, we just got interviewed from Shante Feldhan, and the research and everything that she has done was just fascinating when we talked about walk and talks and why they are so productive.
Well, and it might not just be the walk and talk, right? You guys might decide, hey, you know, for an hour after we come home, phones go away, or we have one, you know, phone-free night, or whatever it might be. But where are your phone-free zones, right? How do you establish where, and here's what I tell my coaching clients, don't go from 0 to 7 days. Like you are just setting yourselves up for misery. Start with, hey, where can we find 30 minutes this week where you're not going to be on your phone. I'm not going to be on my phone. We're going to engage. We're going to play a game. Like Tony said, we're going to go for a walk and talk. We're going to do something engaging with one another without a device.
My walk and talk comment, real quick, baby doll, was for having the conversation, not necessarily create the specific phone-free zones, which I do believe that is also another place to have a phone-free zone. What I was just alluding to there was for that conversation. Let's not have that conversation right in the middle of the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, the bedroom, where the phone is the focal point. Let's get away from that. Let's get on a walk and talk. But I agree with you. Also, the walk and talk for a phone-free zone is awesome.
So have the conversation, create specific phone-free zones. Watch your levels of resentment, right? Ask for the attention. It might be, and I saw this even in some of the responses. Hey, is this a good time to talk? Or, because inevitably there are times when our spouses are on their phones and they are not just playing a game like me or scrolling, the sports scores or things like that. They're actually doing, Tony does conduct a lot of business for One Extraordinary Marriage on his phone. There are times when he's doing that. And I have to be mindful of that and ask the question, hey, is this a good time for us to have a conversation? Right. But that's asking instead of being like, oh my gosh, you're on your phone again? Right. And so it's changing that. Or, hey, I really need to discuss this with you. When would be a good time? Can we put the phones down just because this is something I need your undivided attention for? And so you're establishing from the start of the conversation that this isn't one of those divided attention. Hey, I just kind of need you to be, a warm body in the room. I actually need your engagement on this.
Yeah. And the hard part here is we've become so reliant on them that we think we need to know everything that's happening all the time with our spouse, with our children, with others. Like a message comes in, we got to respond. And I fall prey to this myself. I'm not saying I don't. And this is an area that I have to work on. And I can even feel resentful towards myself and frustrated with myself because I can't and have at times fallen prey to I just need to spend time with Elisa or the children and just enjoy this moment. And instead I'm like, what's the next message? I need to respond to that person right now. And that's not good for us in our marriage, I don't think. And I just think back, and I'm going to say the good old days. I'm getting older, and I'm going to say it, 29 years of marriage, where we didn't have that. And I cherish those times, and I miss those because we used to just sit around and be like, who cares? Our parents didn't know where we were. We didn't know where the kids were. We knew where the kids were when they were younger because they were around us. But our parents, when we got married and stuff, they didn't know where we were. We would go days, we'd go weeks without talking to our parents. And it was okay. It was part of it. But I think, it's just one of these pieces where we have to think about how it really is impacting ourselves too. I think that's the part I just wanted to say with that attention,
And let me finally say, there's a lot of power in being the one to go first, right? What happens if you say something like, hey, I want to give you my full attention. I'm going to leave my phone on the counter. Or this time with you is really significant to me. Coming back to Tony's definition around lack of significance. I don't need my phone in the same room while we're having this conversation. Like, what happens if instead of saying, hey, you never put your phone down, or you're always on your phone, if you start modeling the behavior, both in the words that you're speaking and in the actions that you're taking, right? Be intentional, take action. I don't know how many thousands of times y'all have heard Tony say that, but you do that and you go first and create a different environment for your spouse. Let them know that they are significant. That's why you're putting your phone down.
Yeah. And the one way I have done this just recently, and haven't been perfect, but I'm working on it because I got called out a number of times from Elisa as well as the children, is there comes a certain point in time, like 6 p.m., where I just put the phone where it goes, where it belongs, and it just stays there. And cool. And it's, for me, it has been nice. And it's been around that 6, 7 o'clock time frame where it's just sort of like, it's there, it's cool. You know, if everybody's winding down and I feel the need to respond to somebody, then I'm making sure everybody has been talked to. We've had some time together, and then I can go do that. But I have myself been starting to practice that. Again, not perfect, working on that so that way I can have this peace and giving my attention to Elisa as well as the others in our household.
Mm-hmm. You know, so what does that look like for you this week? What does it look like to pick a phone-free time and commit to it? Maybe put your phones in another room, turn them on, do not disturb, and just be together, right? What if we create a space this week where you or your spouse don't have to compete for attention? What does that do to all 6 pillars of intimacy in your marriage?
Yeah. So this week, go think about this. Again, 94% of you, and Elisa and I would be included in that the phones are a distraction. And with that, what do we do? How do we engage with our spouse? Now, you may come back and say, like, if I say something, my spouse says this, or if I say that, my spouse does this. You may need a third party in. And if you're in that place where you need to get somebody in here to sort of dissect and learn and figure out what to do, because there may be other issues, there may be bigger root issues going on, apply for coaching with Elisa. And you can do that at oneextraordinarymarriage.com/coaching. Don't wait. Don't sit around. Step into it. And if you're the spouse who's being asked to do this, it's okay. Look at it as a way for the two of you to strengthen those 6 pillars of intimacy and create your extraordinary marriage. So go do that today. Go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com/coaching to apply. You guys have yourselves a fantastic week. We'll catch you next week. Love you guys. Thank you for listening to the One Extraordinary Marriage Show. If you love this podcast, please leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you are listening. Your review helps others find the show and know that it's the right fit for them and their marriage.